Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me today on Krista's So Crafty. Today we're going to be making an oven towel dress. If you don't know what that is, so you know the handlebar on your oven door. This is a little dress that you take and you put over it and you snap it on, and this is like a hand towel for you to use. A lot of people use them as just decoration. You can actually use them as hand towels. They're a wonderful little addition to your kitchen. Let's get going into the video and I'll show you exactly how I make the oven towel dresses. Good morning. This is what I'm going to be working on today. This is what I like to call an oven dress towel. Now I'm sure you've seen these around, but this is my version of them. This is my take on them and how I'm going to show you how I make them. So stick around and I will show you all how to do this. To make the oven dress towels, you only really need a few different things. First of all, you're going to need a towel. So I went to the Dollarama, I believe it was, and purchased this towel. I thought it was cute with the butterflies and the little cappuccinos and the coffees. And I just thought that this would be a very cute towel to hang in the kitchen. Now, my accent fabric, I'm going to use red. Red is one of my favorite colors, and so, it only makes sense. And red is, in here a fair amount, and I think it would look really well. If you have labels for your business or for yourself, if you want to give these away, you can absolutely use them in this process as well. The other thing you're going to need is a template. As far as a template goes, I just used a piece of cardboard. You could use like a piece of cardboard from an old cereal box, or if you have cardstock that's fairly heavy, you could use that as well. So for your template, what you're going to do is you're going to measure your rectangle 10.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. Once you have that cut out, each one of these little cutouts on the corners, you're going to be cutting them out at 3 inches tall by 1.5 inches wide. And this is where we're going to make the sleeve. So this is the body part of the dress. This is the sleeve part. So you're going to cut all 4 of those out. And then on the inside where the neck piece is going to be, this is 2.5 tall by 3.25 wide. And these measurements are all in inches. Before we can actually start sewing, there are a few things we need to prep. So once you have your template, you can set that to the side. I'm just going to set my label to the side for a second and my material. The tea towel, what you need to do is take it, so you're folding it in half, making sure that it's nice and neat. I also cut off the little tag inside, the little one. They bug me, so I cut them out. And then once you get this folded in half, you're just going to take a pair of scissors and you're just going to cut right along that fold. Just like so. Now, depending on the type of towel you have, they can be quite messy. So at this point with these microfiber towels, as you can see, they tend to lose a lot of stuff. So I like to bunch them up and I just take them to the garbage and hold it over and just kind of rub it real fast, and it gets off a lot of those little pieces. Okay, so now you have your 2 pieces, right? Because you cut your towel in half. We're going to set this aside and we're going to bring in the material. What I like to do is take my material over to my iron and give it a press before I start cutting it. Oh, I got 2 pieces there. For the dress top, you need 2 pieces. So you're going to cut 2 of these. So I just will lay it out like this. And what I like to do is just take a pen or a pencil and just draw around the outside and draw around the inside. Then I can go ahead and take my scissors and cut it out. But first I'm going to take this over to the ironing board. Now, if you guys have been here for a while, you'll notice I have a new ironing board cover. My husband felt sorry for me, I think. He kept coming down and looking at my old ironing board cover that I had going on here. And oh my goodness, it was in sad shape, I'll say that. But, so he bought me a new one. So I'm just going to press on both sides. I always like to start with my material as flat as possible. It just makes for a nicer outcome. As I said, you can use a pencil or a pen, or if you have a erasable pen or anything like that. The thing is, you're not going to see these marks at all. They're going to be on the inside of the oven dress top, so you're really not going to see these. So then I just draw around, making sure that this doesn't move or slip around on me. And the nice part about these dresses is you can use whatever towels you find, any material. You can use a patterned material, you can use plain material like this. Now I'm just going to take and put some pins in here. I want to make sure that that material stays together. I'm not going to go crazy with the pins, but I do like to put 4 pins in, just like that, to hold it in place. Now, if you want, you can take this over to your rotary cutter and your ruler and do it that way. You can also just use the scissors. When you go to cut out the inside, what I like to do is turn it so it's the longer side, and I just snip inside. And then I take my scissors and I just trim this out just to that line. Like this. These little oven dress towels are so fun to make. I've made so many, and you know, the thing is they never get boring because every tea towel I get is different, and then I get to pick different material. Lots of fun. Now the next step is to sew down the sides. At this point, you want to be very careful that you're sewing the correct part. Our sleeves are not the wide part. Our sleeves are this little narrow part. And so we're going to stitch down both sides following the line here. Don't sew anywhere else. Don't sew the ends, and don't sew this. Now, the other thing is you want to make sure that your material is right sides together at this point. Because my material is just a solid red, it doesn't matter. But if you do have a print, make sure that your right sides of your material are together, okay? So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew down both sides. I have my walking foot on. You don't need a walking foot for this, but I like my walking foot. I am going to change my settings, okay? So I'm going to change this to a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, and then I'm going to bump up my stitch length to be 3.0. My machine is kind of weird lately. I got to take it in and have someone look at it. You could probably get away with just a 2.5 length, but I like to do the 3.0. Okay, so then we'll pan back over here. And I'm going to line up the edge of my presser foot with the edge of my fabric. And I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. Okay, just hold my thread down. And when I get to here, I go by just enough so that I can do the 1/4 inch, turn, and the same thing. And we'll just keep doing this all the way around. So a 1/4 inch, rotate at the corners, rotate, and make sure that you get everything sewn. Oh, what's going on here? Now we can take the pins out. And now what I like to do is take a pair of scissors, and right in this joint here, I like to take and cut a slit just up to that sew line. Okay, so just like that. And what this does is it allows you to turn this and not have it all being bunched up, okay? The other thing that I do at this point as well is to take a pair of scissors and just cut in the inside corners about 1/4 of an inch. Now I just eyeball this. If you wanted to, you could absolutely, you know, measure these out, but I just eyeball it. It's just fine. Just like that. And then that will be our neck. So now that these are trimmed or clipped like that, what I like to do is take this to the ironing board, and I'm going to fold this back and I'm going to press it. This will make the next step easier. So follow me over to the ironing board. So I'm going to fold this back. I'm going to finger press it, and then I'm going to take the iron and I'm just going to press that down. This, like I said, just makes the next step a little bit easier. And I'm going to do this on both sides. All 4 sides on the front and all 4 sides on the back of the little dress. Like this. When I'm done this side, I'll just flip it over, and then these little folds I will take and match them up to what I folded on the other side, and this will give us a nice neat hem all the way around the inside of the neck piece there. There we go. Both sides are ironed, so now we can turn this around. I'm just going to stay at the ironing board because we're going to need to be here in a second anyways. So we want to turn this around, make sure you get those corners poked out, get everything turned out nice. It looks really odd at this point, but trust the process. It will turn out nice, very nice. I'm going to grab a chopstick and get these corners popped out. Okay, so I just take my chopstick and go into that corner. It just helps the corners to pop out nice. The little details is what makes this little oven dress so cute. So now with the corners, what I like to do is work my fingers inside and just get it laying flat and just give it a little tug. And this just helps for it to lay down nice and flat. I'm just going to do that with all of these. And again, I wouldn't use white thread. Can you see that? But for this purpose, we will use the white thread so everybody can see. Okay. Give that a little tug. And then we're going to give this a nice press, and we can move on to starting to add the towels onto the oven dress here. So I'm going to come in like this. Now you want to make sure everything is laying popped out. All those seams are right out to the edges like that. Give it a good press. Want everything nice and flat. And in the same time, you're watching the center so that those little pieces that we ironed, that they're not getting unfolded, or, you know, you want to make sure that they're all nice and flat as well. So we'll lay that down like that. Get that out. Oops. Get that little piece down there. We don't want it to be flipped over. And then just get everything nice and flat. Now I'm just going to flip it over. Make sure everything is laying down nice and neat. Oops, get that end out there. All right, we are ready to add our tea towels. Take your tea towels one side at a time, and we just need to find the center. So just fold it in half, and then I just like to put a pin in here to mark where the center is. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Fold it in half. And again, it doesn't matter where the pin is because we're just using those as markers right at the moment. Okay. We need to go back over to the ironing board and fold this edge in. We want a nice neat edge, right? So we need to fold that in about 1/4 inch. So I just take my thumbs and push the material in there and then just kind of do that like so. And then we're just going to make sure that it's the same, and then we'll take it to the iron and we'll give it a press. I'll be right back. Now that those are folded in nicely, we can take this and we're going to fold it in half. We're going to find our center. We're just going to pin through one of the layers, so I just kind of go inside and give that a little poke like that, and just go through one layer of the material just to get the center, and we're going to do that on both ends like that. So I'll just pull this one out of the way this time. And find my center. We're actually almost more than halfway done our little dress right now. So now we can bring in our towel. So what I do is I bring in the edges and I go in about 1/4 inch and I tuck it in here and I get it right tucked up into this where that seam is. Right in there like that. Make sure it's laying down nice and flat. And then I take a pin and I put it in there to hold that in place. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other end, like this. And then put a pin in there. Wow, that stick pin is not sharp at all. And now I'm going to find where these 2 center pins are. I should have done this one the other way, so I'm just going to flip it around and not lose my spot. And I bring it in. Let's see if I can get this so you can see properly here. And what I'm doing is I'm just bringing this in. I'm going to lay this in about 1/4 inch and make sure it's lined up with that other pin. And then we'll take one of the pins out and use the other pin to hold that in place. See that? And then we just take the rest of this, and you can take it to the sewing machine and run a couple basting lines in there and gather it up if you want. I never do. I only ever do it like this. It works just fine. I kind of gather it all with my fingers outside, and then I just put it so that it's inside that 1/4 inch that we need. So about like that. And then this is the only time I like using my seam ripper, is I use it to help move these folds so that it's laying nice like this. Okay. So there's a good reason to use your seam ripper. Like so. And then I start going in with some pins to hold this in place. Now, I do tend to use a fair amount of pins because I don't want this coming apart. I want it to be laying nice and flat. And once I get this section done, I do turn it over and I look at the back to make sure, ow, poked my finger, to make sure that my material hasn't come unfolded or that it's crooked or anything like that. So I just will flip it over. Okay, so let's just finish this up. Some of these stick pins are so dull. It's unbelievable. There we go. So now if I flip it over, see how nice that is? It looked kind of crinkly, but it looks good and it'll sew just nice. Now we're going to repeat the process here, and then we'll repeat the process here, and then we'll be able to start sewing. Now that these are all pinned on and everything looks good on both sides, see, it looks good. We are now able to take this over to the sewing machine and we can stitch these towels into place, and then we'll go back and work on the rest of the bodice of the dress. Now, I like to do it this way, is that I sew these on. I sew these on first, and then I sew on the lace. You can't actually put the lace on and sew them all at once, but this is kind of a two-fold. By sewing this on and then sewing the lace, this is double stitched, and this is there's no way that this towel is going to come loose from the top. So it's just how I do it. I'm going to just use a 3.0 stitch. Again, with my machine, that's what I'm using. And I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. I'm gonna get my pin holder over here where I can reach it. And I'm just gonna go slowly. Do not sew over your pins. This is very thick with all the different folds and layers of material here. So don't sew over you should never sew over your pins anyways, but just go nice and slow. And just pull out those pins as you go. Oh, there wasn't one there, okay. And then when we reach the end, we will give that a back stitch. And that's one side done. Flip it around and we'll do the other side. Oops. Okay. Back stitch. Just about got that pin. I didn't see it there. It was hidden in the folds. Now again, right here, it really doesn't matter what color of thread you use on the front. On the back, the white thread is going to show through, but I'm okay with that just because this is for demonstration purposes only. Normally right now I'd be using red thread. Get this down to the end and back stitch, and we're done. All right, so now take that out of here, and of course we want to trim up our threads. And now we're going to sew around the opening here to close this up. Again, you could just put the lace on here and sew it, but I like to sew it to make sure that it's flat and that there's not going to be any fold overs and stuff, because if you have the lace on here, you could, accidentally fold it or whatever, and you're not going to see it. So again, this is just how I do it. Whatever works best for you. I just have it all lined up, and I'm just going to stitch all the way around, making sure that everything is nice and neat. And I'm doing, an 1/8 of an inch or even less than that. I'm going very close to the edge, just making sure that I get everything caught. And stitch together so that the next step goes much smoother. One more side and then we are done this part. And we can start adding on the lace. I'll go around this corner and just back stitch. And now we can move on. Okay, so now our next step is to get some lace. And I'm just using this eyelet lace. And we need enough pieces to go around the neck. You need for the waist and for both sleeves. So for example, the ones for the sleeves, they are approximately 6 inches. You want enough that it's going to go along the edge and then tuck in behind. So 6 inches for the sleeves. For the waistband is about 8 inches. And again, you want enough to be able to wrap around. And then the one for the neck, now I've cut this extra long just because I don't want to run out. And this one is about 21 inches. But like I said, it is definitely going to be too long. But I like to have a little bit extra because you kind of have to fold them on the corners to make it go around. Those are the measurements I'm using for the lace. So now we can move over to the sewing machine and get sewing. So let's begin with the sleeve. So what I do, so on the lace here, there's a back side and a front side. So you want to make sure, if there is a difference on yours, to make sure you put the front side up and then just kind of space it between so it's evenly spaced. And then I will bring this over so you can see. I wrap this around the end and I just make sure that there's enough there that I can stitch right there, and then that will hold that in place. And then I'll go do a reverse stitch here, go all the way down, and I'll do the same thing on this side. I'll fold this up like this, and then it makes a nice, neat lace trim. Okay, so then it popped out. Sorry if my hand's in the way, I just need to get this lined up here. This might be a better angle. So again, I'm just going to line this up here, and I'm going to wrap it around, and I'm going to put it under the needle like so, and put my needle down. Okay, so then just lift my needle up a little bit. I just moved it ahead a little bit. There we go. Okay. And now I'm just going to lay this down. And as I said, you can pin this if you want. I don't. I've done enough of these that I can just hold them in place. So make sure you leave enough room so that you can get this flipped around to the back side and catch it when you sew. Okay, so make sure it's nice and neat. And like this. It sometimes gets bulky. You just have to, there we go. And there is our little sleeve, our lace on our sleeve. And of course, we're going to trim up our threads. And then we're going to turn it around. And it's the same procedure for all of these. For the 2 neck ones and for the waist ones. Now that these are sewn on, we can go ahead and sew on the lace around the neck. So, I mean, with these towels, it doesn't really matter, but if you have a preference, which side is your favorite, start on the other side with your lace. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start here, and I'm going to do a back stitch. Got it caught, turn this around, just like so, lining up the edge of this lace to the edge of the fabric, And I'm trying to go in the middle so that it's like so. And then do a little back stitch, and then you just work your way around. Now, what I do is I give myself a little bit of room before I get to the corner, and I take this and I just kind of put a fold in it and turn. It's kind of like a mitered corner, kind of, maybe. It's just a little fold that I put in there so that I can work my way around this corner. Now it does get thick in here, so again, you're gonna have to, you know, be mindful of that, but just go slow, take your time, and go up, and one more stitch, and then I can turn. And bring this lace down around here and kind of work with it to get it to where you want it. Put your presser foot down and just continue on, like so. And you're just going to do this all the way around. And then when we get to the end, I will show you what I do to finish it up. See, I went a little bit far because I went too far. So I have enough room, I just couldn't get my fingers under the presser foot. So we'll get this. So I wanted to, while I'm out here, I might as well show you a little closer. So all I'm doing is, so here's my corner. So I'm taking my fingers and I'm just kind of pinching it, like so, and turning it. And of course, it's easier when it's laying down on a flat surface rather than up in the air like this, but like that. Okay, so you're just doing that, and then this will come around like that. Okay, so I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to hold onto it with my seam ripper. Another positive use of the seam ripper is it can be an extension of your fingers when you cannot get in there. Do a little back stitch to hold that, and then just hold that down like that and stitch your way down, and then we can lift our presser foot and turn, and we'll just get this lined up and all the way down, and make sure, like I said, that you're lining your lace up with the edge of your neckline there. Okay, and before I get any closer, I'm gonna go and tuck this in here so I have it ready to go, like so. Okay, I just need to move this up a little bit. There we go. Okay, and then turn. It's not hard, it's fiddly, is all it is. So, I mean, if you just go slow and take your time, you absolutely can do this. Now, I mean, you could do, you know, you don't have to put lace on here. You could glue some pearl beads around that edge. That would be very cute. You could make like a little necklace and then stitch it on here. That would be kind of cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this, and then I'm going to get my big scissors, and I'm going to cut that off because, like I said, I had it a little bit long, and I'm just going to take this and I'm going to fold it over back on itself like that and line it up and get that up there, and then continue sewing. Sorry if my fingers keep getting in the way. I'm just trying to hold everything, and then same thing, we want to go through and do a back stitch. All right, so now this is done. So I was mentioning that, you know, you want to find your favorite side. With my side, I don't have, you know, any pattern fabric up top. It's just the plain. So I really could use either side as the front. Sometimes what I do is I will put the button or the little decoration here and leave that on the back. Sometimes I will put the button or the decoration right on top of that, and then it kind of hides it. So you can do whichever you like. I mean, it doesn't look terrible by any means. 3 more steps and then we're all done. So this step right here, at the beginning of the video, I had mentioned if you have a label, that right now would be the time to put it on. So once you decide which is going to be your front and your back, I'm going to have this side where the pieces of lace meet be my back. So what I'm going to do is down in the bottom right hand corner, you can put it wherever you want, but this is just what I do. I'm going to lay this out here and I'm going to zigzag on both ends. So back over at the sewing machine, get my thread underneath there, and I'm just going to line it up. I'm not going to pin it or anything, and all I do is I just hold my hand like this, holding on to that label. Start at the top. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to bump you. And I'm just doing a zigzag, so my zigzag part is 5 and my length is 1.0. So I want these stitches fairly close together. Hold on to your thread. Go all the way down. Is this necessary? I don't know, but I reverse it and go all the way back up to the top again. Okay, and then cut my thread. Now I'm going to move it over here. Make sure everything's laid down nice where I want it. It's all lined up. And I kind of hold my finger on this side now to hold it so it's not going to move. Lay down my presser foot and away we go. And again, I'm going to reverse and I'm going to go all the way back up again. Now, I purchased these labels off Etsy. I don't even remember the lady's name, unfortunately. But you don't have to do these. You don't have to put a label on at all. You could have ones that just say made with love or whatever. Done. As I said, I'm going to have this as my front. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half and I'm going to find the center. And I'm just going to put a pin in there. I have 2 buttons here that I'm going to use, and I'm going to sew them together, and then I will sew them onto it's a little cupcake. I know there's no cupcakes in here, but I thought it kind of was cute. So I'm just going to, like I said, quickly sew these together. Woo. Just so that, for that reason right there, that I don't, not fumbling all over the place for these buttons. So just going to do that. I'm going to loop in through this thread like that. And I'm just going to do that a couple times just so that they are together and aren't moving around like that. But quite often I will do this with your buttons. Now, if you only have a single button, or if you have, you know, a brooch, that'd be beautiful. You know, if you had a beautiful brooch or something. The thing is with the brooches, if you were to do that, that's fine. But you'd want to make sure you took that brooch off before you ran it through the wash machine. All right. So that's that. So now I'm going to take and put my button in the center. And I'm going to go through the material. Basically, you're just going to sew your button on, okay? I can take that pin out now. And get this sewn on. Now, because I have a cupcake, I want it to be straight, so I'm just going to take a second here right about like that, and sew this on. And of course, you got to try to find the hole. That's always the fun part when you're sewing a button on. There it is. And of course, it's not like this button is, you know, if this was on a shirt or something, you'd want to really reinforce this and whatnot. This button is not being used for anything. So 3 or 4 times and that's plenty. So that's good. I'm just going to put that through to the back. And of course you want to use a coordinating thread. I need to bring my needle to the back and just tie it off. If you can get it through there. Being all butterfingers right now. There we go. Like so. And I'm going to do that twice. And then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to put it through. There's 2 layers of fabric here. I'm going to run it through between the 2 layers of fabric. Just a little bit, just so that it kind of takes that end of the thread and tucks it in between, okay? Just a little bit. And of course it's getting caught. And now we can trim that off. And our button is on. That looks very cute. Very cute. The next step is to put on some sort of a snap or a closure or something that will hold this onto the oven door to the handle, okay? I like to use the snaps, but you could use Velcro. So you could, you know, sew little pieces of Velcro here and here, and then they would Velcro together. You could sew some little ribbons on, so you could, you know, put your ribbon on and secure it and then have it tied on either side, or you can use the snaps, and that's what I'm going to show you today. I take and I line up my edges of my waistband so that they're nice and neat. Let me put you in a little closer here. Okay. So I line them all up nice and neat, and then I take this, one of these, it looks like a little thumbtack, and I place it where I would like it, and I just kind of push on it a bit. This just puts a little indent there, makes a little mark, and then I can take this tool and I can go through, and I go through both. I'm just going to move these out of the way before I knock them on the floor. Okay, so I go through both front and the back, and then I take the ones that look like a thumbtack and I put them into each side so that I know where the hole is. It's not going to, you know, kind of close up on itself. So I just find that little hole and stick that through, and I just use my nails and I push the material back. So now we are ready to add the backs. Now with the backs you need a male and a female end, okay? You want to make sure that you have a male and a female end. So this is the female end, so I'm going to put that on this side, and it doesn't matter which side you put them on. And I'm going to bring in my tool, and I don't know what it is about these tools, but every one that I've ever seen or heard on a video, they all make that noise. So I'm just going to put that in there, and I'm going to squeeze it tight. And what that does is it squishes that little pin flat so that this stays on. So because we put the female on this side, we want to put the male part on the other side. So put that on. You always want to put the tack part into the base of this, so the black part. Okay, so we're going to put that in there like this, and then you get it lined up and just squeeze like that. And again, It pushes it in, and now we have a snap. Perfect. So now I can open that so I can deal with this side. And again, same thing. We're going to line it up. We're going to take one of the tack parts, the button part, whatever you want to call it. Make a little mark. Get our pokey tool and put a hole all the way through. See, I went all through all the layers. And I kind of wiggle it around to make that hole a little bigger so that I can get these through here, no problem. Push the material down, get the other one, get it through there like that. Okay, now you want to I make sure that on this side is the male, so on the same side I want to put this one as the male as well. Is it really a make or break deal? No, not at all, but that's just the way I do it. I put the same piece on both sides. Okay, so now I've got the male pieces on that side, so now the female piece will go on this side. And I'm just going to turn this around. And put this in here. Like so, and squeeze it real tight. And now this side has both the female sides on it. So now, let me zoom you out here. Whoops, I need to trim these threads off. Now we can go like this, and it is ready for our oven door. I think it turned out so cute, and like I said, I love this towel. The coffee and the cappuccinos and all that stuff, and of course it's got little butterflies. I think it turned out really nice, very nice. You can make these for baby showers, you can make them for wedding showers, bridal showers, birthdays. You know, I would love to be given one of these as a gift. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. It's such a fun little craft to do, and you know, the possibilities are endless as far as the colors and the patterns, and you know, it's just whatever it is you want for your kitchen, for your household, for your, you know, whatever room you're going to put these in. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I had so much fun making these little dresses. Are just so cute, and I've made tons and tons and tons of these, sold them, given them away as gifts, you know, just thank you, if a hostess gift. I mean, there's so many things that you can do with these, and they're relatively easy to do. I hope that you give them a try. Thank you again for joining me today as we made these oven towel dresses, and I hope I see you again soon. Thank you for joining me. Happy crafting.